Yep, I went to start things and I didn't know there was an update. Okay. Oh. So the Splatfest was last week. Uh, my gosh. Um. So right, I was from what I had seen on Twitter, there were so many people on Team Frey. Right, like that seemed to be the big one. She won the pregame ballot, so I was like, yeah, that makes sense. She's gonna right. That'll probably go her way. Turns out she only got like 17% of the vote, and it must just be that everyone on Twitter was following her. I just happened to follow everyone on Twitter, or X, I guess, as it's now called, who was on Team Frey. Hey, funny man, how you doing? So yeah, that's kind of what happened there, and she got demolished in the Splatfest. I want to say of the like possible categories to win, she only won the pregame vote. A Big Man won one of the battle ones, and Shiver won everything else. The popular vote, the other two battle ones. There's like one other category as well. So, tricolor, I think it's tricolor. Yeah, that happened. And so, yeah, I technically wound up being on the winning team of the Splatfest due to a dice roll. I don't know. I really thought Frey was going to come in and just sweep the Splatfest. That's really what I expected. That's really what it sounded like was going to happen on Twitter. And of course, in the days since the Splatfest, there has been a lot of racism, not just from America either. There's been a lot of like I guess on Japanese message boards, there have been a lot of racism towards Frey as well. So, yeah. I mean, it's sadly nothing new. But I do really like the character, right? Like, I know we always talk about, oh, she's got a big forehead. The only reason I ever talk about that is because Pearl had a big forehead. And people complained about Pearl having a big forehead. And so I find it funny that they did it again. But I actually do really like Frey's design. The more, right? Like, the longer you have with it, especially after playing the story campaign. And her outfit. Her outfit has always been great. The no shoes thing I find kind of weird, but that's just me being averse to feet. But no, yeah, it's and then Big Man was never gonna win. Like I knew, like Shiver, yeah, obviously everything tilted in our favor, and Big Man's he's that guy, but he was never gonna win. Sad to say. I'm surprised this is taking forever. Usually Splatoon updates are real quick in and out. There we go. Maybe. What else? So yeah, I got more salty sea snails. That I have not used that many salty sea snails. I think in the entirety of Splatoon, I've only ever used or of Splatoon 3, I've only ever used like maybe 5. I have not used that many salty sea snails. There we go. Got updates. See, I have no idea what was updated. Like, because the full update came out like 2 weeks ago, so I have no idea what the small update did. Oh, you know what it might have added? It might have added the Pearl and Marina banner. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the only thing it added. Because that totally seems like the type of thing that just a random little update would add. Oh yeah, we did get stuff on the DLC, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I got one story before the DLC that happened chronologically first. So we're going to talk about it first. So we've got 3 news stories tonight. One of them is about Unity, the company that has pissed everybody off at the moment. We got the Nintendo Direct, which of course happened on yesterday. Yep, it happened yesterday. And we have the State of Play, which also happened yesterday. So those are the 3 big stories to talk about tonight. Yeah, 2 directs on the same day. Which, the whole reason why that happened, because I know Nintendo didn't do their direct on Wednesday because of the Apple Showcase, right? The Apple Showcase kind of ruined everything. But, yeah, the Nintendo Direct and PlayStation, they happened on the same day because Tokyo Game Show is next week. That's why there were so many JRPGs in these showcases, because they have to get them out, right? These companies have to talk about them before Tokyo Game Show next week. So they have to officially reveal with them. That's why we got Unicorn Overlords and Tales of Arise and Honkai Star Rail, is that what it's called? I don't know, I've actually heard good things about it, surprisingly enough, but I refuse to play a gacha game like that, so yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, Unity does suck now, so I guess we'll start there. So, early in the week, Unity updated their terms of service, announcing that from now on, well, it was original, so it's once games hit a certain threshold. I want to say that threshold is 1 million copies down, right? 1 million copies, not sold, but 1 million copies downloaded. So technically, people who pirate the game are counted in that number. But yeah, so once 1 million copies have been installed, Unity will start charging developers 20 cents per download. If you have the free version of Unity. Because Unity, of course, it's a... right, most of the time when people think of Unity... Oh, is it 1.5 million now? There have been so many changes to this policy in the last few days. There have been so many changes, and yet none of these changes are them backing down. Because I know originally they said, oh, what did they say? That... Oh, yeah, like, originally they said that, if someone, like, uninstalled a game and then reinstalled it, that would count as a new download. And then, like, a day later, they backtracked on that as well. Right? They backtracked that, oh, no, actually, that doesn't count, right? Because people realize that, oh, well, you know, if you get charged 20 cents per download, then what people can do is pirate a copy of your game, install it, that charges you 20 cents, uninstall it, reinstall it, and that charges you another 20 cents. And theoretically, someone who really hated a specific developer could just set up a program that installs your game, uninstalls it, and then reinstalls it. Right? Just ad infinitum. Just to, you know, charge you money. Right? Let's say it takes 10 minutes to install a copy of your game. That's what? $2 an hour. You know, do that for 24 hours. That would be, what, $48? And, you know, the numbers just keep... Yeah. The numbers just keep adding up. So, right, Unity almost basically within 24 hours backtracked on that one. But that's a mess. But yeah, Unity has like a paid subscription model. And, right, if you pay money, it's like less. Like, if you're paying for like the top tier premium, it's only like a penny per download or something like that. So there have been a lot of crazy things to come out of this. The one that specifically, the first one that I really saw about this was the developer of Crab Game, which is like a free-to-play... As far as I know, it's like a free-to-play like Squid Game parody. And the game has been downloaded like 3.5 million times. And if Unity were to charge him for that, he'd be out like $500,000 or something. And he's not made that much money off of the game. Because, it's a little meme game. And Unity would charge him, $500,000. So that's wild. Or someone made a hypothetical example where it's like you make a freemium game. From your freemium game, you make 250K in microtransactions. But 3 million people download the game? That would mean you would owe Unity 360K more than your game actually made. That, through Unity's policy, if 3 million people downloaded the game, but you only made 250K, you'd still owe them 300K. Which is fucking crazy. So yeah, no, this policy is awful. And this is just the latest. Like, this is not the first time Unity... Like, those premium subscription tiers that I mentioned a second ago. People hate those as well. Like, those are super unpopular as well. And, Unity... Like, Mark Brown, who does Game Maker's Toolkit, pointed out that in his last game jam... I want to say, like, half of people use, Unity... And so it's like, what does this mean for the future of game jams? Because Unity claims that charity games will not be part of this program. But how do they know? How do they know that a game is a charity game? Right? Because I know how companies work. They're just going to get robots to do it. That's what YouTube does with all of its shit, is they just get robots to do it. And that never works out. So, yeah, call me ye of little faith, but so is everybody else in this situation. And then, of course, there have been several, game developers who are like, oh, well, now, we're working on our next, the developer behind Slay the Spire put out a, I'm going to call it a solemn JPEG. I know it's not a solemn JPEG, but it's basically, it's a public statement JPEG. And the developers of Slay the Spire put one out. And we're like, we've never had to make a public statement before. God, it fucking sucks here. Because, their next game is being developed on Unity. And with these changes, they don't know, if Unity doesn't reverse these changes, then they're going to have to port their next game to a new engine. I'm sure, there was one developer, I don't remember which one, who was like, no, even if Unity undoes this, they've still done too much damage to their brand, They've hurt people's trust too much. We're going to have to switch our game to a new engine. I know the developer behind Cult of the Lamb made the joke that come January 1st, when this policy goes into effect, they're going to remove their game from digital platforms. Of course, they said that as a joke. That was obviously a joke. But it's still... The fact that they could even make that joke at all... First, I do think it's funny. But it just kind of shows how bad of a position we're in. The other developer who I saw post stuff was the developer Aggro Crab, who's working on the game Another Crab's Treasure, which is coming out next year, I think. And their solemn JPEG was... Because Aggro Crab has had some great solemn JPEGs over the years. Today, Unity engine we used to make our games announced that they'll soon be taking a fee from developers for every copy of the game installed over a certain threshold, regardless of how that copy was obtained. Guess who has a somewhat highly anticipated game coming to Xbox Game Pass in 2024? That's right, it's us and a lot of other developers. That means another Crab's Treasure will be free to install for 25 million Game Pass subscribers. If a fraction of those users download our game, Unity could take a fee that puts an enormous dent in our income and threaten the sustainability of our business. And that's before we even think about the sales on other platforms or pirated installs of our games, or even multiple installs of the same user. The decision puts us and countless other studios in a position where we might not be able to justify using Unity in the future. If these changes are not undone, right, it keeps going from there. But right, they were kind of the first ones I saw to really put out a statement. And I feel like a lot of developers like jumped in to like show their support and their agreement with AgroCrab. Because again, AgroCrab is really on the ball. I'm actually really excited for another Crab's Treasure. Now, one of the things that did come out after the initial statement was the fact that for stuff like Game Pass, it would not be the developers paying this 20-cent fee. No, it would be Xbox themselves if they do one of these games on Game Pass. So that all of a sudden gets Xbox involved in this, because I'm sure there are I don't know if any Xbox game has used, like, first-party game has used Game Pass. I wouldn't... What engine does I know Cuphead. Actually, you know, I'm completely wrong. I know Cuphead's first or second party. Does Microsoft still own Studio MDHR? Yeah, Overcooked is another one. Yeah, no. But I know Cuphead uses Unity. And that's, I want to say, either first or second party. So, that's a game that, right, Microsoft directly cares about. And if anyone's going to come after Unity, I could see it being Microsoft. Right? Because this policy does really hurt them. People have pointed out that Pokemon Go is developed using Unity. So that's another one that, you know, Nintendo should be invested in. Because Pokemon Go makes a shit... I know a lot of people don't like Pokemon Go anymore, and rightfully so. It's got some serious problems. But it makes a shitload of money. So, yeah, that's another game. There are so many... I know, right, a lot of times Unity is seen as, like, the dumpy game engine, right? The game engine where you make the Donald Trump simulator. I'm pretty sure that's a donkey joke. But Unity, right, it's not about the engine. It's about what you do with it. And there are tons of great games made on Unity. So, yeah, no, this is just screwing over a bunch of people. It's an awful decision. I'm honestly kind of surprised. Unity has earned so much bad press. I'm honestly surprised they haven't undone it. And the longer they wait, the more developers who no longer trust them. Right? The more trust... Right, like the Slay the Spire dev said. If they don't undo this, then they'll never work with them again. But if they wait too long to undo this, well, who's to say they won't do something stupid like this again in the future? Why trust them now? But so far, nothing has happened. And a lot of the public statements that are being put out are being done by, like, PR team members who, you know, they don't know everything. They're just trying their best. And I don't blame them at all. Because this is all from the higher-ups, right? The CEO, the executives. Unity is a publicly traded company. So that's a part of it as well. Because, yeah, for some reason, Unity decided to go public. And they had no reason to do that. Right? Most companies have no reason to do that. But, you know, they did it. It's a fucking mess. But, yeah, so I really hope this gets undone, because this is screwing over so many people. But, you know, companies have been shitty in the past. They will continue to be shitty in the future. This is sadly nothing new. I mean, we'll talk about Strike T in a little bit. And everything going on there. Nothing new, sadly. So I guess let's talk about the Nintendo Direct, shall we? So, I did do I didn't do like a live reaction to the Nintendo Direct. But I did I just recorded myself like early in the morning, and I didn't realize it. But my microphone had come unplugged. So I was recording audio off of my webcam microphone. And I didn't notice until just like an hour ago. So both the Nintendo Direct reaction and the PlayStation reaction are both recorded on shitty webcam microphone. And I didn't notice until, just like an hour ago when I saw, when I was having trouble with the mic, right as I was trying to start up the stream. And I was having trouble. Well, okay, that's technically not true. I noticed when I rewatched the videos to upload them last night, and I was like, wait, why does the audio sound so bad on this? And then I fixed it like an hour ago, right before the stream started. But yeah, so my microphone became like unplugged, or I don't know. I unplugged it and plugged it back in, or OBS had some sort of problem. I'm not entirely sure what happened. Again, streaming is 90% technical issues, 10% actually streaming. But I'm pretty sure I fixed it. I'm pretty sure anyways. But I did put both of those things up on YouTube, so they're both up online. Just because, I have them anyways. Honestly, in the Nintendo Direct reaction, I was very tired. It was so early in the morning. I was so tired. And in the PlayStation one, I was a little bit more energetic. I had a little bit more same things to say. But yeah, so I put both of those went up on YouTube earlier this morning. And, so my thoughts on the Nintendo Direct? I don't know what the general reaction seems to be, because I seem to only be looking at the extremes. And in the extremes case, they seem to be very happy with this Direct. Mainly because of the final announcement. That seems to be what everyone is excited for. Other than that, the Direct was fine. But, a Direct lives or dies by its opening announcement and its final announcement. Right, y'all? Right, we've said it before, especially when talking about, like, PlayStation Directs. You gotta start with something big, you gotta end with something big. And PlayStation continually screws that up. Their showcase that we'll talk about in a little bit, ended with something big. And for a lot of people, that made the state of play. But it didn't start with anything big. The Nintendo Direct, it started with Splatoon's DLC, which that's cool. There were some people who didn't think Splatoon DLC was going to be there. And I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't think so. Like, it was obviously going to be there. That was like that and I guess like Super Mario Wonder were the two things I would guarantee was going to be there. And technically Super Mario Wonder was there. I guess Super Mario RPG was also pretty guaranteed. But no, that was like the one thing I thought I was like for sure was going to be there. So the DLC itself, I didn't realize this while watching. It wasn't until I was rewatching the stream, or I watched Arlo's reaction, because of course he freaked the fuck out. So did Chugga Conroy, which I recommend both of those. They're really funny, because they're I expected Chugga Conroy's to be exactly what I expected it to be. Right, oh my god, that's so good. I need to watch Paper Mario Sticker Star videos. But the Splatoon DLC, it seemed... So, my thought with Splatoon was like, I thought with Splatoon 3, they were going to do a Battle Royale mode. Because, Battle Royale modes are the new hotness. It used to be Horde modes. Horde modes used to be the new hotness. Right, that's what Salmon Run is, a Horde mode. So I thought, since the new hotness is Battle Royale modes, they'll probably do that for Splatoon 3. And then they didn't. And now we're getting the DLC, and it's obviously not a Battle Royale mode. Instead, it's a fucking roguelite. Yeah, the Splatoon... they talk in the trailer about how they wanted to make something that can be replayed over and over again. So in order to accomplish that, it seems like it's a roguelite, where at every level you'll choose like a paint swatch. either easy, medium, or hard. And those, buff your stats, or, and you're doing like a harder challenge or something. And that gets you rewarded. They made a roguelike, potentially. At least that's what it sounds like. Or maybe it's just because I've been convinced of it. But I think that's really interesting. Splatoon roguelite is a very interesting idea. So I'm down for it. If that's what they're going to do, okay, cool. We find out Deadfish, who is now called... Is it pronounced... I don't think they ever say it, so I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure it's ACT. Like, it's A-C-H-T. ACT, right? ACT. It's Deadfish. So if you don't... Deadfish was the DJ... is a parody of Deadmau5, and was who did the music in Splatoon 2. Oh wait, we can't actually see anything from the jukebox. But right, so Deadfish did the music for the Octo expansion. Some great music, right? It's Splatoon music, but it's a character people were always fascinated with. And so it's actually really cool to kind of like how people were fascinated with Harmony, and now she runs one of the shops in this game, right? People were fascinated with Deadfish, especially because she's like this Octoling, and she's got like this whole backstory about how she was like this shy, reserved person, and then she got scrubbed by Tartar, and that made her, right, finally able to produce the music she wants. It's kind of interesting. So I'm curious to see what's going on with her. Pearl is a robot, and my thought was, right, the thought is like, oh, she's controlling this little, like, drone, but I guess on the Japanese website or somewheres, it says that no, she actually is the drone. That, right, her brain was put into the robot. So that's very weird. And then, of course, Marina isn't there, which I find very interesting, that, right, Marina's not there. I'm just going to leave them alone. So, yeah. Oh, wow, I actually got them. But yeah, Marina is nowhere to be seen. Of course, since Marina's side order lost the Splatfest, the first question that comes to people's mind is, oh, is Marina the villain? Because Callie lost the Splatfest, and she became the villain. So, it's a question of, is Marina the villain? Are we getting the wedding DLC like I dream of? Or is that just not going to happen? And I don't know. I still hope for the wedding. I hope they're married, because that would be great, but we'll see if that actually happens. But no, I think the new fish enemy reminds me. There used to be a thing called an iFish that was like a robot fish MP3 player, because they had like an iDog and like an iCat that were like cat MP3 players, and a dog, like a robot dog. Look them up. But there was a fish one, and it reminds me of the fish one. So that's what visually that's what they look like. I guess design-wise, they're actually based off of a fish that eats like coral or something like that. So right, there is like an actual like, and since side order is all this like dead white coral, there is clearly like something there. So I just find that very interesting. But no, I'm super excited for the Splatoon DLC. It got a spring release date, like spring 2024, which, to be fair, is longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be coming out in November when the next update comes out, but no, we've still got a while away. So because the original Octo expansion came out on like the game's 1-year anniversary, maybe even before that, like 11 months out. So the fact that this DLC is taking longer makes me think that it's probably going to be bigger. Yeah. So yeah, that's, it looks good. I'm excited for it. It's Splatoon. I love this game. I hate this game, but I love this game. Um, give me a second. Um, what were we chatting about? Oh, Nintendo Direct, yeah. So next up, Mario vs. Donkey Kong was announced. So this is not... So when I was watching this, I was like, oh, is this like a remake of... My first thought was the Game Boy game? Because there was a Mario vs. Donkey Kong Game Boy game that is actually pretty popular. Like, I remember people really liking it. I had it. You know, it was a pretty fun game. And it was basically like a re-inspired version of the original Donkey Kong. You know, like the arcade game from 81. But yeah, it was Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That is not what this is a remake of. This is instead a remake of its... Oops. A remake of its sequel, which was called Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the And then, you know, the original might have just been called Donkey Kong. I don't know. It's not on Game Boy Online, which surprises me. Right? It's one of those games that I don't think has been added yet. But no, it's a remake of a Game Boy Advance game that is, as far as I know, pretty popular. It was pretty liked. It is the predecessor to all of the mini Mario vs. Donkey Kong, like Minis on the Move, Minis March Again. I know people hate those games. Honestly, I really enjoy them. I think they are really fun puzzle games that I think really get a lot of the hate because they were overdone. Right? We got like, within like a 10-year span, we got like 12 of them. And especially because they were used like for a lot of like experimental bullshit. Like Nintendo's first ever freemium game was a Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, so I kind of get why people hate them. But there are especially like the first two, I really enjoyed, because the first one was on the DSi. I got really distracted there for a second. I don't think they put avocado on my sandwich. Yeah, I got a sandwich, and they didn't put avocado on it. What the heck? We're getting... I know I did not... I contributed nothing this round. Oh, I'm so distracted. Sandwich, man. Sandwich! Yeah, that fucking sucks. They didn't put avocado on my sandwich. I don't know why they didn't. I'm so brain. Mario versus Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong, good game. It is $50, as we learned. Even though the game was probably $40 when it released, and even though this is a remake of a Game Boy Advance game, it is $50. Meanwhile, Thousand Year Door is $60. So, like, what the fuck, Nintendo? Like, you know, I feel like $40 would have been like, it was originally $40. This is a remake. I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's a good price. But at $50, this does feel like typical Nintendo, like, penny, like, squeezing every last penny out of us, God, that is a good sandwich. But yeah, no, I remember, the game was good, I heard. I might have even owned it. Honestly, I kind of can't remember, but there is a chance I did actually own this game. I for sure remember owning the Game Boy one, though. Like, I have very distinct memories of the Game Boy one, because it's pretty fun. But I might have owned this one as well. On Game Boy Advance. But I do like those mini games, man. I know I'm definitely in the minority there. But the two on DS. Because there were a lot more on 3DS and Wii U. But there were, like, I want to say there were 2 on the DS. And, when people say there were, like, 10 of them, I can actually only think of, like, 6. The one on DSiWare, the one on DS, the one on Wii U. I don't think there were 2 on Wii U. Maybe there were 2 on Wii U. There was one that was on both Wii U and 3DS. And then there was Tipping Stars, and I want to say it was called Minnie's March Again, or... There was one that played, like, different. There was, like, a 2D puzzle game, whereas... Or, like, a 2D, like, you were moving characters on, like, a turtle maze kind of thing, whereas the other ones were more of, like, Lemmings-style games, like, like, 2D platformer Lemmings, or something like that. I don't know. But they're a good game. I stand by their good games. I know not everybody agrees with me, but I do. We got Super Mario RPG. We got some more stuff. They're adding some new stuff. Like, there's now a triple star attack, right? Where you can, like, when your meter reaches 100%, you can do, like, 3 attacks at once. That does, like, a bunch of damage. So that's one of the new features. They also added in, like, some post-game boss rematches that are like harder than your normal game fights. So that's another cool feature. It does so at one point in the trailer you do see the secret door, and with the secret door being there, are we going to get an even harder version of the secret door fight? We might. It's totally possible we might, which would be crazy. They did also confirm in a separate thing that while they have done a remastered soundtrack, you will be able to go back and listen to the original soundtrack, which is very cool. Like, that's a very un-Nintendo move. Nintendo doesn't do that kind of stuff that often, especially with remakes. Right, the only other example I can think of them doing that is Xenoblade Chronicles, when they re-released it on Switch. You could go back and listen to the original soundtrack, or, the original, like, Japanese voice lines. So, cool. I'm glad they're doing it. That sounds like a great idea. But yeah, listening to the original Waltz of the Forest again, because Waltz of the Forest still fucking slaps. Great song. But Super Mario RPG still looks great. I'm excited for it. It comes out in, like, November. And maybe I'll actually beat it this time, because I've played that game like 6 times, and I've never beaten it. Next up, Another Code Recollection. So, during my live reaction, I was like, you know, that girl kind of looks familiar. She kind of reminds me of one of the spirits in Smash Bros. And yeah, the main character of this game has a single spirit in Smash Bros. And the only reason I recognize that spirit is because I remember seeing it and being like, who the fuck is that? I don't recognize this character at all. Yeah. So, the original game was called Trace Memory on the DS. And so for hearing what I've heard over the past few days, I guess the original game ends on a cliffhanger, and that was resolved in the sequel that never came out in North America. So, you know, I always talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X, and how I'm still waiting for X2, because the original X ends on a cliffhanger. Well, yeah, this is that, but worse. Because the original game came out in the DS, and I think the sequel came out in the Wii, but the sequel never came out in North America. Oh gosh. But now it is finally coming out. We're getting both games in a single collection, so it's called Another Code Recollection. Right? Recollection, you know, collection, you get it, ha ha ha. Makes sense, because it's about memories and whatnot. But no, this is actually really cool. It reminds me, right, a few years ago when we got the Famicom Detective Club, it kind of reminds me of that. But to be fair, I didn't play those games, and I probably won't play this one. I don't know. It's one of those games that, like, if it reviews really well, I might end up actually picking it up. Because that was 999, another DS game that really deserves a remake. Where it's like, oh yeah, this game is great, you know? That'd be a cool remake to get as well. But yeah, no, it's really random, but you know, Nintendo actually brought out, right, between Paper Mario, this game, and F-Zero, Nintendo brought out a lot of dead franchises that haven't seen games in 10, 20 some odd years. I know Paper Mario has had games in the past 10 years. We just don't like to talk about them. We got the Princess Peach game. They did show it off. They gave it a title called Princess Peach Showtime. Which, this game reminds me a lot of Luigi's Mansion. Right? With Luigi's Mansion, oh, you're exploring a mansion hunting ghosts. This, you're exploring a theater and fighting off the sour grapes. Which, I still love that name. The Sour Grapes. It reminds me of isn't Sour Grape a Strawberry Shortcake character? That sounds right in my head. Sour Grapes. Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's very funny. Very interesting design. I love the costume mechanic, right, where Peach can put on these different costumes. I think they look very nice. I like Nintendo breaking the mold. There is something about it that I'm, like, a little hesitant about, but in, like, the same way I'd be hesitant of, like, Luigi's Mansion, where it's like, oh, we're making Luigi a Ghostbuster. That's very random. Right? That's kind of how I feel about this. Like, oh, we're having Peach do, like, a Showtime thing. Right? We're making her an actress. Okay, you know, it might be good. Like, it looks interesting, right? There's presumably a lot of, like, puzzle-solving mechanics you can do with the different costumes and whatnot. There's a lot of potential here. I think this can be something great. But, you know, it's not a brand new IP, but it's a brand new, like, series, potentially. So, I have some hesitation there. But I think it is very interesting, nevertheless. Next up, we got Tomb Raider. They're remaking the first three... Not remaking, but, like, remastering the first 3 Tomb Raider games. Which, that's cool. I've never actually played the first 3 Tomb Raider games, because, again, not a PlayStation guy. But it's an interesting... Right, I think it's a good idea. They're kind of like... Right, they're doing the thing where you can use the classic old-school graphics, or you can use the new, slightly updated graphics. Like, okay, cool. Will this actually get me to play the Tomb Raider games? Probably not, because I played the Tomb Raider reboot from a few years ago. God, it's been over a decade now. I played the first one, and then the second one became Xbox exclusive, and I never owned an Xbox, so I never played the second one. Never played the third one. Honestly, and the first one didn't, like, blow... Like, it was fine. It reminded me of a Far Cry game or something like that. It was good, but it didn't blow me away like something like Uncharted did. Next up, Trombone Champ. So, this is a PC game that, you know, is part of, like, the Fluke PC Indie Hits... the Fluke Indie Hit Sweepstakes, right? You know, every year you get a game or two that is like this weird fluke indie hit that becomes super popular, just usually because of how weird it is. This year, right, 2023, the fluke indie hit is Pizza Tower, right? Pizza Tower is this weird Wario-inspired game that everybody kind of loves. Right, Trombone Champ was last year's, or at least one of the ones last year. I feel like there were a few last year of just like these weird little indie games. Because, like, Vampire Survivors, I would also kind of classify as, like, a weird indie hit. But, no, I think Trombone Champ is actually something I'm really excited to play. I did buy it. Because I saw it, it came out, like, it was one of those, like, available later this day. And I was like, oh, I want to play that. And I have not played it. I bought it, I downloaded it, and then I've just been distracted by other things, so I haven't actually played it. But no, I've heard nothing but great things about Trombone Champ. I am awful at rhythm games. Like, rhythm games are the bane. Like, the only rhythm game I like is fucking Sayonara Wild Hearts. And that's... I'm not going to say that's barely a rhythm game, but it's doing things right other than rhythm game. Like, you don't have to be a master at rhythm game. Trombone Champ is more like your typical, like, Guitar Heroes and whatnot. But it's very interesting, very charming. I'm super excited it's on PC. Or it's on Switch now. You know, it's been on... And, like, Pizza Tower is going to come to Switch next year, probably. Because that's usually part of these, like, fluke indie hits. Is they basically take another year to get onto console. But it is coming to Switch first, which is cool. I don't think it's launching on any other console. The weird thing about it is it's got, like, this IR... It's got motion controls, which makes sense. But it's got, like, an IR sensor where you can, like... It moves the trombone, like, the meter up and down based on how close your hand is to the IR sensor. Which is very stupid, but it's probably going to be the best way to play the game. Right? Like, I see that being like, yep, this is the best way to play this game. Just because of how fucking stupid it is. So I really do like that. That's great. But I have not played it, so we're not talking about it. But next week. Next week we will for sure talk about it. Next up, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So, I guess in... And I knew this, I just forgot about it at the time. In North America, this game was called Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. But in, I guess, Japan and Europe, it was called Luigi's Mansion 2. Right, it was only in North America that they gave it a subtitle. And so I guess for this new release, they just dropped the subtitle. Which, you know, makes sense. Right, especially for, like, brand cohesion. It makes sense to drop the subtitle and just be like, no, this is Luigi's Mansion 2. I really like Luigi's Mansion 2. I know some people dislike it. They hate the story-based... They hate the mission-based aspects of the game. But I think it's a lot of fun. I honestly... I've played it multiple times. I Let's Played it. I honestly kind of forgot I did. I did a really shitty cam Let's Play back in the day. But no, I have Let's Played it. It's a good game. And, you know, I'm glad it's getting some HD remake. I really hope that, as one of the Switch 2's launch titles, we get Kid Icarus Uprising HD. If this is Nintendo showing an initiative to do some HD ports of some 3DS games, God, please give us Kid Icarus Uprising 3 HD. Because Kid Icarus Uprising is one of the best games of all time. The only problem I have with it is that it's on the 3DS. And that limits its control scheme. But I feel like putting it on a Switch with an actual 2-joystick controller would fix all those problems. So I am really hopeful for Kid Icarus Uprising HD. I feel like that could be great, but we'll see. But I feel like that would be a great Switch launch title. Or Switch 2. With, you know, probably Mario Odyssey 2 and whatever else they put on it. We've definitely got a year. Because Luigi's Mansion HD doesn't come out until summer of next year. Which feels right. This was a direct to talk about winter games. And they basically announced that game a year out. Which that is not the type of game that needs a full year before its announcement. But that just means the Switch, you know, so I don't, someone on Twitter, it might have even been fucking Andre Seekers, pointed out that, you know, usually the last years of Nintendo consoles are very barren. Because Nintendo's putting their best foot forward for their new console, right? The last year of the Wii U was fucking abysmal because Nintendo was putting everything on the Switch. I mean, I know we still got some things, but that was few and far in between. Right? The Switch's lifespan, though, with probably about a year left, we're still getting a ton of games. Right? They're still putting a ton of shit on Switch, even leading up to its end. And probably, I'm going to guess the Switch 2 is going to be out in October. Maybe September, but probably October of next year. Maybe November, but I could see them launching it earlier than that. So that way they have stuff for the holidays. Like, I don't think it's going to be like a November 20th drop date. I don't know. They could, but I don't see it. I don't know. When do Nintendo consoles historically launch? I know the Switch came out in March, but that's a real oddball situation. So yeah. Nintendo talked about their museum. You know, Nintendo getting a museum makes perfect sense. They're over a 100-year-old company. They deserve a museum. They have done more than enough. Again, the Nintendo World Museum in New York is pretty interesting, right? It's pretty cool. I assume I don't see why it wouldn't still be there. You know, where you can see the Game Boy from the Gulf War that got mortared and still worked. Yeah. You know, shit like that's just really cool. So yeah, I'm all aboard for a Nintendo museum. We got some amiibo announcements. They gave us the official release dates of the Zelda amiibos, which I thought the Zelda amiibos were coming out the same day as the Splatoon 3 Big Man, Pearl, and Frey amiibos. I thought those were on the same day. No, turns out, they're like, I think it's like 2 weeks before. Right, the Zelda amiibos come out on the 3rd, and the Splatoon amiibos come out on like the 17th. Why? I have no idea. Why not just do them all on the same day? No idea, but that's what they've decided to do. We're getting Sora as an amiibo sometime next year. It'll be cool to have every Smash Bros. Amiibo. And then we're getting some Xenoblade Chronicles amiibos that I guess unlock new outfits in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Okay, cool. I still need to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'll get around to it one of these days. Let's see. Next up. So this is when they talked about F-Zero. So we're getting F-Zero 99. So some of the things in this direct had been leaked. Specifically that F-Zero was going to be here. And that Donkey Kong was going to be here. There's one leaker on Twitter who I guess has been doing a lot of stuff. To be fair, I do not follow this guy. I don't even see this guy's tweets. But leaks are so permanent, or like, not permanent, pervasive on Twitter, that I still saw this stuff anyways. Luckily, I did not see the last thing of the Direct. That was a genuine surprise for me. But, So, F-Zero, I remember, at some point, I remember saying F-Zero 99 would make a good game. I still stand by that. Because F-Zero is like this high-paced, fast-action racing game. The idea of an F-Zero 90, where it's like F-Zero with 99 players, I stand by as a really good idea. Part of me wishes Nintendo had put more time into it, and instead of this just being an updated SNES game, I wish they had just made a brand new game. But no, that's not what they did at all. Instead, it's a, it's just an SNES game. But I've heard mixed things about it over the past 24 hours since it's released. Some people say it's good, some people say it's bad. Well, some people say it's mediocre. I don't think I've heard anyone say it's specifically bad. But I've heard some... I don't know why everyone's given up. We're getting a lot of these tonight. Matches where nobody's doing anything. But no, I think F-Zero 99 is a good idea. I did download it. I have not played it. Right? Kind of like Trombone Champ. I just haven't had the time. But I will get around to it eventually. But no, it's a good idea. I'm curious about it. Because you know what I like about it more than like Tetris 99 or Pac-Man 99? I like that you can actually interact with other players. It's not just, hey, guess what? You've got all these other screens on your side. No, there are literally 100 players in a single race. I want to say there was like someone made like a Mario Kart, like a fake Mario Kart that was like Mario Kart 99. And right, and it was based on the SNES Mario Kart. And it was kind of a similar idea. And yeah, I stand by, it was a good idea. Alright, we've got 20 seconds. Let's see what damage we can do. Ah, they knew. They knew exactly what I was trying to do. But no, I stand by F-Zero 99 is a good idea. Oh, we got a heart. Next up, we got the Mario Kart DLC. So, on the Mario Kart roster, there are 2 open slots. So, people were trying to figure out what the 2 open slots were. The general consensus was that one was going to be Pauline. Pauline was a safe bet. Because, she's very popular. And having another female character in a Nintendo game is always a good thing. Again, Nintendo may get shit on for its female representation, but it somehow also has some of the best female representation in the video game industry, weirdly enough. So getting another one, that's good. But, having Pauline made sense. And then my guess for the other one was Nabbit. Because, Nabbit got announced in Super Mario Wonder. Having some crossover there makes a lot of sense. I figured it was going to be Nabbit. No. Instead, well, first off, they revealed Diddy Kong. And it was like, oh, cool, Diddy Kong's back. And then they announced the GOAT, Funky Kong. Right? Funky Kong is a really random Mario Kart character, but he's also a fan favorite because of the Wii version. So it's like, oh, that's really cool to see him again. And then they announced Pauline, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. We're getting, and so part of me is like, we might get more Mario Kart characters than the ones they announced here. Right? There might be even more, but as people have also pointed out, we are now at 50 characters, and that kind of feels like a good endpoint to wrap things up on. So, yeah, we'll see, I guess. But I would not be surprised if there was more, right? If Nabbit still made it in. If Egad makes it in. Because Egad's also one of those characters, kind of like Kamek, that I've heard people say they want for a long time now. Egad's probably not going to happen, but Nabbit might still. But then the fourth, so, right, we get 3 characters that I think make perfect sense, that deserve to be here. And then the 4th character, if we're doing a new Super Mario Bros. Rep, instead of doing Nabbit, who, has got an interest, I like Nabbit's design. You know, he looks kind of cool. I like it. We instead got fucking Peachette. This is what, the 4th? So we have Peach, Pink Gold Peach, and now we have, and then we had Cat Peach. Cat Peach was in the original DLC, and now we have Peachette in this new DLC. Is that, oh, and we also have Baby Peach as well. Are there more Peaches than Mario? Because Mario has Mario, Metal Mario, Baby Mario, and Raccoon Mario. There might be there might be more Peaches than there are Marios. I know there's also Gold Mario, but that's just another skin for Metal Mario. I don't know. Peachette is a very weird final edition. I know the Bowsette meme was a thing, right? And yeah, that was a whole thing. But that Peachette did not need to be a character. Cat Peach did not need to be a character. Neither did Raccoon Mario, but those still happen. I just wanted Kirby, man. I wanted Kirby so bad. He would have been so cool. I would have taken Samus. I would have taken Zelda. Zelda would have been fantastic. Zelda would have been a great addition. Oh my god, I just ran out of ink. But no, and then of course the one new course we got is Daisy Circuit. We'll find out more closer to November when the DLC actually releases. Because that's my guess, it's going to come out in late October, early November. Any guesses for tracks? I still want All Rainbow Road Cup. All Rainbow Road Cup is definitely not happening. I want Luigi's Mansion DS stage, because that's a cool track. I know we have the Haunted Mansion, the new Haunted Mansion course. The DS course is better, in my opinion. That uses the classic, like, GameCube Luigi's Mansion. That's a cool track. Kirby would have been so cool. I wanted a Kirby-inspired Rainbow Road. That would have been the coolest thing in the world. Where you're flying around Popstar, you know, for like a final track for a final DLC. That would have been so cool. But nope. It's not going to happen. Daisy Circuit's a good track. What else? There are other tracks that deserve to be here. But I think the Wii Rainbow Road is a guarantee. I want to say so we found out Mario Kart Tour is going to stop getting updates in October. And so I'm pretty sure, because part of the reason this DLC exists at all is to preserve some of the Mario Kart Tour tracks, right? So that way, like, you know, we always talk about game archival, right? Making sure old games can be played in the modern day. That's one of them, right? A lot of these Mario Kart tracks from the mobile game, if it wasn't for this DLC, would be potentially lost forever. So having them backed up here like this is a good idea. So whatever tracks we're missing, not Amsterdam Drift. I know there's like one or two. There might be a Canada-based one. No, not a Canada. There's definitely a Europe-based one. Maybe London. Is it called London Loop? Ooh. Interesting. No, we might have got... I don't remember which ones we've got and which ones we haven't got, but there's definitely one we haven't got that will probably be in here. Maybe two even, sadly. And then the final thing in the Direct was Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. So this did not get leaked for me, right? This was not spoiled for me. I want to say the main guy who was doing a lot of the big leaks this Direct did not spoil it, right? Like, he intentionally did not give it away. Which I think was the right move, right? But no, I am genuinely... Thousand Year Door is one of the best RPGs of all time. Like, so much... Like, if you don't like RPGs, I would still recommend Thousand Year Door. Like, I love Xenoblade. But if you don't like RPGs, I don't think Xenoblade would change your mind, right? Or Xenoblade would be one of the RPGs that you like. Thousand Year Door, on the other hand, if you don't like RPGs, there is a chance you will like Thousand Year Door. And there's not that many RPGs that you can say that about. Like, legitimately, the only other one I can think that applies to that is Persona 5. Like, if you don't like RPGs, there's still a good chance you'll like Persona 5. As weird as Persona 5 is, yeah, no, there's still a good chance you will like it. So, yeah, Thousand Year Door is a great get. Of course, the big thing that people want is, are they going to be adding the Luigi story? So if you've never played Thousand Year Door, in it, Luigi has like a special, like, basically like a side story. That's what I call it, like a side story. That's told throughout a series of like books that you can find in the game. And the big thing people want from this new Paper Mario remaster is like, hey, what if we actually get to play those segments? Now, I've actually seen people split on this. Some people think it's a great idea. Some people think it's a bad idea to have the Luigi segments be playable. I think it's a fine idea. Right? That, like, yeah, you know, might as well have us play those segments. Because they're fun, right? The Luigi segments they're funny. Because it's Luigi's adventures in, like, the Waffle Kingdom. And that's pretty funny when you think about it. So I'd be down for it. Does the increased swim speed affect the Kraken? I don't honestly know. But no, I'm so excited for Thousand Year Door remake. We did not get a release date or anything. My first thought is like May, but I could honestly see it being us on the Switch 2. Right? Depending on when we get the Switch 2, I could see it being like, hey, guess what? This game launches on both Switch and Switch 2. I don't know if Paper Mario is big enough to be a same-day launch title, but I could see them being, right, like, it comes out, like, within a month of Switch 2 launching. I don't know. Announcing a game that's a full year away. Again, they did it with Luigi's Mansion the other month, so there's no rule that says they can't do it with this. It'll just be very interesting. But yeah, right, Directs live and die based on their opening announcements and their final announcements. Opening announcement of Splatoon DLC, you know, that's good. Ending announcement of Paper Mario, amazing. And I feel like, yeah, that's how a lot of people are going to treat this Direct. That there's a lot of shit in the middle. There's a lot of RPGs I didn't even talk about today. That, right, people are just going to be like, whatever, who cares? But it started with Splatoon, and it ended with Paper Mario. And that's kind of all you need. So I feel like this Direct is viewed pretty positively. And, right, just because of Paper Mario, will go down as a pretty solid thing. I saw, right, during my reaction, I pointed out that, Chugga Conroy's out there screaming somewheres. And he was screaming. But I had completely forgotten. Arlo launched a whole campaign to get Nintendo to just re-release Thousand Year Door. He didn't want them to remake it, right? He wasn't going to be that greedy. He just wanted them to re-release it. And he's won. So someone pointed on Twitter, like or hate Arlo, he's the main character, and we're just living in his world. Because yeah, between Paper Mario and Pikmin, Arlo has won. He just fucking won. And you know what? I like a lot of the same games Arlo likes. So, I guess I'm winning as well. Am I that big of a Paper Mario fan? Not really, but I love Thousand Year Door. I also like Super Paper Mario. Super Paper Mario gets a bad rap. It's a good game. And then they all go to shit after Color Splash. Origami King was okay. Origami King was like a solid 7 out of 10. It came out in such a shitty year for gaming that I still think it made my top 10 list of that year. Because I played so many mediocre games that year. That is actually, I think it came at like number 7 or 8. I think that was 2020. Sounds like 2020. So yeah. But yeah, Nintendo Direct, I still stand by. Solid B, B+, you know. Pretty decent Direct, all things considered. I've definitely had worse. So next up, we got the State of Play. So the State of Play opened with Baby Steps, which I keep calling Baby Mode. So Baby Steps is the new game by Bennett Foddy. Bennett Foddy and crew. If you don't know, Bennett Foddy did, Getting Over It, right? You know, the game where you were inside a pot that people hated / liked. That's the second disconnect in the day. Don't know what that's about. But Bennett Foddy did Getting Over It. He also did a bunch of... Did he do QWOP? He might have done QWOP. I'm not entirely sure. But, you know, I want to say he did Only Up recently. Right. Which I have not played Only Up. I know nothing about it. That might have been him. But this is, you know, his new big game with... I want to say Devolver. He announced it at Devolver Digital's showcase. But it's, you know, you're a man baby, you know, leaving your parents' basement for the first time. They hinted at grappling hooks being in the game, potentially. I don't know, that might have been a joke. But it's a weird game that I probably won't play because I never beat Getting Over It. I never will plan on playing Getting Over It again. But, you know, those are the type of games that make fun YouTube videos. And I'm sure Baby Mode will make a fun YouTube video. That's for sure. But yeah, it's a weird way to open a PlayStation showcase. That's for damn sure. Next up, they showed off PSVR 2. They talked about Ghostbusters. So this was a game that had already been announced and I had just completely forgotten about it. I don't know. Ghostbuster games sound like a great idea. Like, Ghostbusters on paper sounds like, yeah, that'd be a very fun video game. And I know it'd be a very fun video game because Luigi's Mansion exists. But Ghostbuster video games are very hit and miss. A lot of the older ones are garbage. The Xbox 360 one people generally like. But I feel like a lot of the more recent ones have been kind of a disaster. Gosh, swim speed is so fast. But no, so yeah, Ghostbuster games are real hit and miss. But VR Ghostbusters doesn't sound bad. I'm pretty sure Greg Miller has already played it and liked it, so... I don't know, I still don't own PSVR 2, and I don't plan on getting PSVR 2 anytime soon. They showed off Resident Evil 4 VR. Again, another thing we kind of already knew about. Gosh, you were able to retreat so quickly. But no, Resident Evil VR makes sense. Whatever. I know, I like Resident Evil 4. I have not played the remake. I will at some point. But probably not anytime soon. Yeah, I'll probably play the remake at some point. Because, yeah, I do like Resident Evil 4. I don't know. Is it lead if you're winning and danger if you're losing? That might be it. So let's see, what else did they talk about on PlayStation? We got Spider-Man. So they showed off some Spider-Man 2. They talked more about the open world stuff this time. And we got our first hint at Mysterio. I have been waiting for Mysterio to be in the new Spider-Man. And we might even have actually seen what Mysterio, at least one of his designs. And which, it's not the fishbowl design. I hope we get the fishbowl. Because I love the fishbowl. I think it's a great design. I feel like the MCU did a fantastic job at adapting it. But we get like him in like this big like puffy jacket. that I'm pretty sure is Mysterio, but we also see his, like, eye floating in the city. I'm so excited for Mysterio. I love the character, but I'm really excited for the new Spider-Man. Danger appears once the enemy has 70%, 75% more turf colored than your team. Okay. But no, the new Spider-Man looks great. We got to see a bunch of the new costumes and whatnot. They all look great as well. Again, the big one I care for is the Arachnite. They did confirm that the Tobey Maguire symbiote suit is going to be in the game, which I actually do like the Tobey Maguire symbiote suit. You know, I like the new design as well, the new symbiote suit. But the Tobey Maguire one also looks pretty good. Big fan of that one. So that's cool to see here. Yeah, I'm so excited for Spider-Man. Of course, it comes out the same day as Mario Wonder. So it's like, fuck, I gotta choose between those two. Which is not gonna be fun, but I will end up choosing. I'm honestly probably gonna go with Wonder. Yeah. They showed Helldivers 2, which I only bring up because it was fucking awful. They got the Ubisoft Rainbow Six Siege Evolve actors in, and they're awful. Honestly, gameplay demos like that, where, you know, you have people playing the game, but they're just actors pretending to play the game, are some of the worst trailers. Like, before this trailer, I didn't give a shit about this game. Now, I actively think this game is really bad. So yeah, awful trailer for Helldivers 2. It reminds me a lot of Evolve, which is not a good thing. Evolve was an awful game that I was so excited for. I thought Evolve was going to be the big dog's biscuit, the next big thing. And it most certainly was not. So, Evolve always breaks my heart. And that's why I will never trust Turtle Rock or multiplayer games ever again. Well, also Titanfall. I also blame the original Titanfall for never trusting multiplayer games again. Because Titanfall also had a bunch of promise that just failed to deliver on every aspect. Yeah, Helldivers 2, awful. Foam Stars. So Foam Stars is not Splatoon, because it is not Splatoon, but it kind of looks like, right, it kind of is like Splatoon. They're doing an open beta at the end of the month, which I might check out, because, you know, the thing about a game like this is you get a good weekend out of it. You have a fun weekend with it, and then you just never play it again. Right? That's how there are so many multiplayer games that, right, you play for a weekend, you have fun with, and then you never play again. And I fully expect Foam Stars to be one of them. So maybe we'll check out the open beta. You know, maybe we'll, just for the heck of it, we'll check it out. Thought I was far enough away. And then, you know, we talked about how a Direct lives and dies by its ending. Up until this point in the Direct, I thought it sucked. And then they ended it with fucking Final Fantasy VII Remake. And for a lot of people, that's all they needed. Final Fantasy VII Remake was enough for some people to think this was a good state of play. Which, you know what? Good for those people, I'm happy for you. Right? If Thousand Year Door was enough for me to think it was a good Direct, Final Fantasy VII Remake is enough for you to think it's a good state of play. I do not give a shit about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll play it at some point, but at the moment, Part 2 does literally nothing for me. Right? I do not care. Oh, woo, it's more Final Fantasy. Sure, whatever. But for some people, yeah, no, I expected reactions to this direct to be pretty negative. Because, again, there's a lot of RPGs and stuff I'm just skipping over. But no, because of Final Fantasy VII, people seem to be very positive on this showcase. Which, you know, for those people, good for them. It's good that there are at least some people who are happy. But no, it looks fine, you know, it looks like Final Fantasy VII Remake, you know. You know, for those people, I'm happy for them. I'm not one of them. God, we were so fucking close. But for those who are, good for them. So it comes out on Leap Day next year. February 29th. Yeah, that's when they're releasing this. Which, is, to be fair, is way sooner than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be much later into the year. Right? Like, that would not have surprised me if it was like a big fall game. But no, it's actually coming out a lot sooner than that. But it was also confirmed that at launch, it will be PlayStation exclusive. Yep, Final Fantasy VII Remake is PlayStation exclusive until May 29th, 2024. So that's only like 3 months. That's not that long. But it's still kind of wild that it's happening at all. Yeah, that was revealed later on Twitter or something like that. I know I saw it through Wario64, like always. But no, that's what's going on there. I'm probably going to end off here in like 10 minutes. Yeah, it was good to see you. Yeah, so yeah, PlayStation Direct, not for me. Just straight up not for me. Nothing I really cared about. None of the announcements were that big. But you know, for people who like Final Fantasy VII, well, yeah, no, this was pretty good, I guess. For me, I didn't really care for it. Whatever. It was a thing. But we got a Nintendo Direct before that, and I love that. So, yeah. Cool beans, mate. So I guess that takes us to WIBE. So, if I'm being honest, I have nothing to talk about. I played a little... Yes, I played Starfield. The game has crashed on me several times. I have had multiple crashes. Not really that many bugs. It's just... Like you know, like typical Bethesda bugs. You know, Bethesda's bug. Yeah, no, not really much of that. I've just had the game crash a bunch. Other than that... So yeah, I don't really have much to say about Starfield. Not this week anyways. I did, after I got sick of the crashing at one point, because it kept crashing at this one specific planet, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play some Pikmin 4. So I did a speed run of Pikmin 4. I did the... Well, my original plan was I was just like, how fast can I beat the game? Right? Having only played through it once, not doing any research or anything, not looking up at the speed run or anything, how fast can I beat the game? I beat it in about 4 hours. I want to say, if you go up to speedrun.com and look at the 4-hour speedrun, just subtract a few minutes from that, right? Like, if the speedrun's like 4 minutes 20 seconds, or, I mean 4 hours 20 seconds, 4 hours 20 minutes, ugh. I maybe was at like 4 hours and like 13 minutes or whatever. I did it just under whatever the 4-hour speedrun is. Which would have put me in like 28th place or something like that. So it wasn't a great speed run. And then I continued on to do the Cure Ochi %. And I was able to go back and do the Giant's Hearth and the Primordial Thicket. And I beat that in 8 hours. Which I think would have put me 12th place on the leaderboards. If I had actually recorded the run, which I did not. It was just a casual thing, and I just had a speed run. I had a speed run timer up, and then, you know, you get the timer at the end of the game. So, yeah, I did that. So that was my first attempt. Oh, my God. We were so close, and then we just got team wiped. Fuck. I didn't realize we were actually that close. So I did a second run, and I cut that time in half. I cut 4 hours down to 2 hours. I want to say it would, if I were to put it on speedrun.com, it would put me in, I want to say, like, 24th place, which still isn't great. But, yeah, that's where it put me there. But I did do another run, right? I didn't do Kurochi percent, I just did a normal speedrun. I did actually look up the speedrun route, so I did take that. I had some problems along the way. Specifically, there were some things that I didn't even notice, right? There were some things I didn't know about. There was, in my original run, there was a cave that I didn't go into that the speedrun route went into. So I had no practice for that cave. But yeah, I beat the game in about 2 hours. I'm pretty sure I can keep getting that number down with more practice. But I just did those 2 runs in between Starfield crashing. But I do want to do, like, immediately after my second run, I was like, God, I want to go again. I just want to do run number 3 now. I didn't, but I didn't because I was out of time, but I wanted to. So that's the one video game I played. I bought Trombone Champ, haven't played it. I downloaded F-Zero 99, haven't played it. The only other thing I really want to play is the Pokemon DLC, which we will do on stream at some point. Part of me wants to just say, like, oh, we'll do it tomorrow, but I don't actually think we'll do it tomorrow. God damn it, we're getting so close. As much as I'd love that to be the case, I don't think we'll actually be doing the Pokemon DLC tomorrow. God, especially because it's like $30 and I have to buy that. And I just bought Trombone Champ, which was only like 15. Literally, Trombone Champ was pretty cheap. God, you move so fast with the new swim speed. Because they were right there, and then somehow they got over there, like, instantly. Okay, cool. What else? Yeah, we'll do the Pokemon DLC eventually. The only other thing I can think of are struck works. Right, we're still in the middle. The writer's strike is over 120 days. SAG is at like a month or 2. Right, they've been going a while now. So, yeah, the only other thing I can think of is struck work. So, I guess we can't talk about that. We'll do one more match. So, yeah, updates on the strike. Well, I know who was it? The United... Someone went on strike today. I want to say the strike started this morning or maybe yesterday. It was the United something... It's the UAW, the United Something Workers. Why does it not actually tell me? United Auto Workers. There we go. I was like, what was the A stand for? I couldn't remember. The United Auto Workers are on strike as of today or tomorrow, or yesterday, I mean. So that's, you know, good. Another industry going on strike. Oh, fuck yeah. It's a big strike as well. So that's cool. I'm glad this is another strike that's happening. With the actual writers and actors strike, Drew Barrymore has tried to put on her talk show again, right? The Drew Barrymore show. And, right, she's scabbing, right? Anyone who works on her show, any guest who appears on her show, because those are all under WGA contracts. It's all scab work. So, yeah, fuck her, fuck that. I know she did put out a public statement earlier this morning, and it was awful. Her public statement basically amounted to, hey, you guys aren't smart enough to understand what I'm doing, and that, right, this isn't a, right, like, it was basically a non-apology, being like, oh, you guys aren't smart enough to know what's actually going on here. It was awful. So there was also the story that, right, some college kids were invited to a taping of our show, and on their way in, they came across the people picketing out front. And they were told, like, the picketers, like, and the picketers were like, hey, you know, don't go in there, you know, or take some, right. I don't remember if it was like, don't go in there. I know they definitely told them that. But they decided to go in anywheres, but they took strike, like, buttons. Like WGA, support the WGA buttons. And they wore those, right, while in the studio audience. And so, once they were in the studio audience, security came up and kicked them out. And after they were kicked out, they then joined the picket line. Which, that's great to hear. Right, that after that happened, and I guess several other people have been kicked out, and, right, they've banned all people wearing anything relating to the strike. But it's, the whole Drew Barrymore thing has been a fucking mess. Okay, so we won 3, we lost 2. We honestly don't do these special challenges all that often, because they rarely ever happen. That's the thing. We got our ass kicked tonight. I lost so many matches. But yeah, so that's what's going on with the strike. So I guess that takes us to the end of the show. Like I said, I did not have a WIBE tonight, because I haven't played Trombone Champ, I haven't played Starfield that much. I've been busy this week, man. I've been so fucking busy. And I've still got a sandwich to finish here. This has been sitting in its own juices for an hour. That they forgot to put avocado on. Avocado. You know, I'm not much of a guacamole guy, but I love avocado. Avocado is so good. Look at that cat shirt. That's a fun shirt. I've been seeing a surprising amount of new gear in this shop. Or new stuff. Nothing today. I mean, there's only 2 things today. But I've come in here and just seen, like, them completely... Like, basically almost everything is brand new. It's kind of wild. But yeah, so what's up? Again, when we get around to... I will get around to the Pokemon DLC sometime in the coming week. Hopefully, that is the plan. Hopefully, we will play Pokemon. I'd love to say we're doing it tomorrow. Maybe we might, but we also might not. I don't know. I've heard mixed things about the Pokemon DLC. Frame rate, I guess, is god-awful, but other than that, it seems to be okay. Oh, hey, look, it's Little Bub. Hey, Little Bub. But I do want to, you know, at some point play it and do more with it. Right, I'm curious about I've already had something spoiled for me. Like, you know, within, like, not even 24 hours of the DLC dropping, somebody had already spoiled something, right? A major plot point. So, yeah, that's fun. But I'll get around to... Right, we'll get around to it. Other than that, Splatoon DLC clearly isn't anytime soon. Spider-Man's in October. But we're just going to continue doing in chat, you know? Nothing's changed there. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time. Peace.